Everybody doing? So sorry about putting PM again on the stream. I meant 9 a.m., my usual time. I gotta really pay attention when I set up these streams, but I do have 7 images in so far, so we'll get to those, and maybe I'll set up another one for tomorrow. But either way, uh, thanks for being here if you're here. I uh, I know a lot of you, or some of you, may be waiting till 9 p.m. or not. I don't know. I'm so bad at streaming. I should just stop. Just give up. It's terrible. Uh, anyhow, everything seems to be working. Audio, video, and my little loop deck here so I can switch between screens. So we'll just get started with the photo editing. I will be using DxO Photolab 9.3. I just downloaded it yesterday, the update. So we'll see how that works. What I really like is they are this feels like about the 5th or 6th update since they released Photolab 9 at a minimum. And I also updated the latest NVIDIA driver that came out earlier this month, like a week or so ago. So there's still one more driver I haven't uploaded yet. That's the Intel driver for its video, because I use an Intel chipset. But I can't get it to install for some reason, so we'll just leave it at that. But yeah, 9.3.2. We'll see it when it comes up. I'll pull up Photolab, and I think the deal is still going on. Let me check real quick. It's like 20% off if you buy 2. Oh, I don't know. I can't tell. Their site's not coming up for me. But if it's still on, it was 20% off. But either way, I have a coupon code down below that if it's 20% off, you get an extra 5% off if you buy any 2 of their products. So I'd recommend if you have a photo editor now that you like using, PureRaw and Nik Collection would be a nice pair up. And then if you want to just have the best photo editor out there, in my opinion, I would recommend Photolab and Nik Collection. Nik Collection is a really nice set. I use it time to time for HDR and blending images that way, and then sometimes for creative stuff. I don't get too much into creative things. I'm more of a I prefer the photos to be at least somewhat original, but you can get very creative with the Nik Collection, and the silver effects is really nice. So, and I will say that the Viveza actually has all of the photo editing tools that you'd really need. Just the workflow is a little bit more awkward than, say, Photolab. But in any case, let's go to the first image. Let me pull that up real quick. All right, so it looks like we have some petrified wood here from Larry. And, the idea here is just to show you my workflow, the tools that I use in DxO. And then, I'm going to edit these as if they were my own photos. So it's all very subjective. Any choices I make in composition or, any of the tools that I use. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat section. I'll try and get to those every, 2 or 3 images that I edit and address them, answer them the best I can. All right, so, wow, it's pretty harsh lighting. It's almost midday, it looks like. But what I'm going to do is I really want to bring out the texture here in the face, and then minimize the lighting in the background so that our eyes stay here. I may even crop in quite a bit. So typically what I'll do is I'll apply basic preset first, which is the optical corrections and denoising. And then I think about the composition and white balance. White balance seems fine. Don't need to do anything there. But in terms of composition, like straightening the horizon, any kind of geometry and cropping when I think about composition. I don't think we need to do any horizon correction, but um, I'm debating if we need anything outside of this area right here. Maybe just use simple rule of thirds and put the center somewhere around there. And just come in right here. And then I want to really bring out the texture. So there's a couple of ways I can do that. And go over here to our detail panel, and we can sort of increase the lens sharpening. And now you can be pretty liberal with this. I'll just increase that. And then I also like to work with the micro contrast. And then that's in the lighting panel. And sometimes Clearview does some interesting things for this kind of subject. Typically, Clearview use that to minimize haze and fog. We'll just click the auto on the micro contrast. I think that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do is just try and temper the highlights here a little bit. So I'll just use a control point, and I'll pick sort of the brightest point here. Oh, this is pretty bright too. I might need a couple of them just to kind of go around. Maybe one here too. And let's just bring the highlights in just a bit. A tiny bit on the midtones. Okay. Right about there. And then maybe some of the saturation. Let me try a different profile. Let's try vibrant. Yeah, natural looks best. Let's see if we can just bring out this sort of reddish color here. Just a bit. And then what's over here? The oranges. So I'm gonna get the oranges in there. And we'll spread into the reds. Like that. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Good. And I think that's it. So I'll export this. And oops. Sorry, let me cancel that. I forgot to export this. I was doing some other work here. So no resizing, sRGB. Okay, good. And that shouldn't take too long. That was pretty quick. So we'll reset and do a side by side. So here's the original. And here is, I think, how I would edit this photo. And yeah, so I think that looks pretty good. I mean, the light is really harsh on this, but just bringing out the details, we can just compare side by side. There's quite a bit of detail that got extracted out, I think. And I like the color, just a slight saturation in the color. Okay, very good. Let me adjust my screens one more time. All right, there we go. All right, let's go to the next one here. Looks like we have one from Roy. And I'm going to hit the F9 key. The F9 key brings the panels in and out like this. And I'm going to, again, start with my basic preset. Okay. And this is a great lens, the 12 to 45. Horizon here looks pretty good. I think we're good here, but this right side of the image feels a bit heavy. So I'm gonna try and minimize this with a crop. Let's try 5x4 vertical. Because we don't need to hide the this little pier completely, but I just don't want it filling up the frame as much as it was. So I think this vertical is nice. The exposure is good. I think all we have to do is just sort of accentuate the sky, maybe darken the water a bit, and that's it. So I'm just going to use a control line, bring that in, and make sure the eyedropper is somewhere in the sky. And I'm going to increase the luma masking just a hair so I don't affect the mountains as much. And I'll just start with some clear view. That looks good. And a little micro contrast, just to give a little crispiness. And then let's use the AI tool to select the water. So we'll make a new mask here. And there we go. Select the water. And then we'll just, let's pull the blacks in. And whenever I darken or brighten something, if I darken something, I tend to cool the white balance a little bit. And if I brighten something, I tend to warm it a little bit in the white balance. So since I darken this, I'm just going to cool it off just a bit. And my rule of thumb is 500 Kelvin at most, because I don't want it to be so far off the rest of the images that it looks, you know, weird, right? So we'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to bring a little more light into the mountains, a little more warmth. I can do that with just some control points. And then I'm just going to try and use or try and figure out where the light is hitting the mountains. Because the light is over here, so it's really kind of a backlit. It's more of a backlit scene than it is side lit. But I'm just going to fake it a little bit. Let's just push it up a little bit. And then give it a little warmth. Let's see, we were at 63. Let's try 68 or 69. I can probably expand this out a bit. Maybe add a drop there. And a drop here. And maybe a little bit down here. Okay. And then the sky, maybe I can just add a little warmth here. Right here where the lights are, or the light's coming from. So I'm going to make a new control point. Let's pick the brightest point here in the sky. Again, tighten up the luma a bit. Wait, I have to make a new mask. Okay, now I'm going to pick a bright point here in the sky. Tighten up the luma just a bit. And then let's warm that up a bit. Spread it out a bit more. How about some magenta? Yeah, just a tad. Okay. I think I want a little more light over here. Let me go back to my older control point here. Spread that out. Let's just give another tiny push. And we'll pull the blacks in just a bit. Okay. Okay, I think that's good. And this is a base ISO, so I don't really need to export it. So let's look at the original here on the left. Originally a landscape orientation, and just going to a vertical, because like I said, I think this was just a little bit too heavy in the frame. I kind of like this vertical better, and a little bit of foreground here is fine, and a little bit of warmth in the sky. I think that works pretty well. Okay. Good morning, Rob. Good to see you. And Paul. I see Gordon is here. Good to see you guys. It's hardly anybody here because I think they're coming at 9 o'clock, 9 p.m., right? God, I'm so stupid. All right, we have some, looks like some, I forget what these are called, but these grow just under the water line, like in very shallow streams and ponds. I see a lot of this at Huntley Meadows. Oops, let me go into here to edit. This is from William. This, I think I'd like to get in really close here. So I'm going to crop a lot of this. Let's put a basic preset in first. And we will crop in horizontal. And maybe just stay in the area that has the most of it in focus. You know, the focus plane right in here. Oh, I can center that a little better. Okay, so the focus plane is about right in the middle. And let's see if we can temper some of the highlights. We'll do that selectively again with, let's use a control line. And I'm going to put this on one of the brighter areas. And let's tighten up the luma. And just pull the highlights. Oh, not too much. Maybe we'll bring it down. Like I said, I want the eyedropper to be sort of on the brightest part. Let me back off the luma just a tiny bit. I'm going to go back the other way. Okay. I think where I was good. Right about there. All right, let's do another control line, but this time for the darker midtones. Just right here in the midtones. Again, we'll tighten up the luma a little bit. And let's just start bringing that in a bit. Give it a nice little bit of contrast. And some clear view and micro contrast. Because the midtones is where most of the detail is at. All right. And then we'll do one more control line for the blacks. So I'm going to move this dropper into a dark area. Tighten up the luma just a bit. Just make those a little blacker. Okay, let me go back to my midtones. Maybe we just need some saturation. on the greens. And the overall white balance, I'm going to warm it up some. Okay, I think that'll do it. Let me export this, because we are at a higher ISO, 1600. And then we'll do a quick comparison when that's ready. Oh, that's interesting. Why is it not exporting? Let me. All right, there we go. I must have something in the queue from something I was doing earlier. All right, so I'll reset this one, and we'll do a side by side. With. Okay, so here's the original on the right. This is my edit on the left. So I just really wanted to focus in on the details here, right here in the middle of the focal plane, versus, you know, capturing this much wider scene. This is all out of focus anyway, and it doesn't really add any, you know, typically if you're going to have out of focus area, it's to separate the subject, but the entire scene is the subject. So we just have basically a blurry subject up here. So, I mean, it could be argued to crop in even tighter like this, but probably a better thing to do would be to zoom in so you can capture even more detail. But if we look at the difference in the processing, or you know, there's no processing here, and then there's processing on this side. I think it came out pretty good. You know, we got rid of the chroma noise mostly, and then a little bit of sharpening and separation of the tones, I think worked really well. So I think if I were to take this image again, I would, you know, I would zoom in quite a bit and just try to capture the details of the petals and the leaves here. Okay. Let's see. Let's go to the next one here. This one here is from Paul. And all right, let's apply basic preset and get rid of some of the distortion here, if any. So this looks like an adapted lens with some minor barrel distortion here. So the question is, do I want to correct for that? Let me select fisheye over here. Okay, and I'm going to just compare. Okay. I can tell by this pole here if I need to do a little bit more. Okay, there we go. I think that's pretty well corrected. Then let's try the perspective. Okay. And then I'm going to try and balance this and get the symmetry right. We may lose some of the sun over here. But again, I want to note that it's important to do all your geometry first before you start doing any editing. Because sometimes the local edits and adjustments don't follow the geometry. I haven't been able to narrow it down when that happens and when it doesn't. I just got into the habit of my workflow always doing geometry first. And then I don't have to think about it. Let's do, so we definitely have more space here. Now the subject is front and center. The question is, oh, we still have a little bit of correcting we have to do here, left and right. Let's do that. And then maybe we can this shadow. I think right there is about right. Let me see. That's about right. Okay. All right. And then the question is, do I want to keep them front and center or more near the top? I can't see. Let me just brighten this. See where I can go. If we do it this way, so I always try to think about how can I create some depth. Okay, I like this. It feels like you're a little bit lower when you're taking the shot. All right, now let's work on, I'm leaning black and white on this one. Yeah, let's do a black and white. All right, now let's separate the shadows. So I want to make the shadows a little darker and the you know, the blacks basically, and make the shadows a little brighter so that these are more mid-tone. We'll silhouette the subject a bit, and then we'll try and bring out some of this flaring that we're getting from the sun. So let me just try control point over here and do some clear view and micro contrast. Like that. Okay. I don't think I can bring out, yeah, I'm not going to be able to bring out the I'm not going to be able to bring out these this flaring any better, I don't think. All right, let's try and separate the tones here. So maybe another control line. And we'll make a pretty thin one here. And let's tighten up the luma. Good. And just do a linear push. Like that. And we'll make a new control line for the shadows. Again, I'm going to make it relatively tight. And I'm going to tighten up both the chroma and the luma. And then let's just pull the blacks. Okay. Let me look at my mask again. Okay, not bad. All right. Go back to my other control line. And let's just push it using the selective tone. All right, good. I don't know if I need this bottom part. I may crop in a little tighter. Let's try 5x4. Let's try 1x1. Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. Overall, the image is leaning a little dark. So I'm just gonna I don't know if that's the best way to go about it. Just a linear push. And then, yeah, the image is a little bit soft. So maybe, and I'm getting a little bit of haloing here in the highlights, or speculars, but that's okay. I don't mind that so much. Now I could try to sharpen this, but I think that's going to make it worse. I'm going to need a pretty big radius. Yeah, that's making it worse. So the question is, I need a little, still some perspective distortion, but not much I can do at this point. Let me try a different crop. Because those goalposts just are bothering me a little bit. Okay, now we have this line going into the corner. I like this. It's just a little bit soft here. So maybe some clear view. And let's just push. We'll just push the contrast a little bit more. I'll go back to my speculars over here. I wonder if I go back to the color panel and mess with the blue. Yeah, there's not much color left over here, so this is going to be tough. Let me move this dropper up here. Yeah, that's... Oops, I'm not working with the dropper. Let me go over here. I'm just trying to bring out these, this little bit of flaring a little bit better. Put this dropper. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to try and sharpen it though. It just makes it look worse. I mean, it makes it grainy. That's another direction we could go, is make it look grainy. Like that. With some micro contrast. Do that. Okay, let's export that. Oh, this is the body cap lens. The 15 millimeter, I assume. Or the 9 millimeter body cap, excuse me. I've always gotten really sharp results with my 9 millimeter body cap until I busted it. I dropped it like face down on the concrete and the lens cracked. Anyway, go ahead and reset that. And we'll do a side by side. All right, so yeah, the original, I like the idea of doing vertical, but with these wide angle lenses, and this is a personal preference, I just don't like a ton of sky and a ton of foreground that is relatively plain. I could argue the foreground here is mildly interesting, you know, with the cracks and everything, but it's half of the cracks and everything are being covered by the shadows. So there's just nothing going on here, or enough of any one thing. If it was all shadow with these lines, I'd keep it. If it was, you know, more cracks and crevices, I'd keep it, but it's kind of a half and half. So I didn't feel like there was much there, enough of either one. Now coming over here to my edit, you know, so basically I just cropped it out because there's a lot of sky here that doesn't do anything for me. And the question was, you know, where do I crop? And also there's a slight perspective distortion. Like you're not perfectly parallel with the bridge, right? Your camera's either tilted to the left a little bit. Well, in this case, your camera's tilted to the right a little bit. But it looks like the vertical is perfectly fine. It's the yaw that's off, but your pitch is perfect. Okay, but yeah, I think that's what I'll go with. That right there. All right, let's see. This next one here from John. Okay. So again, I've seen another shot of the same scene. But this is a little different because in the previous image, I think there were a lot more cars and things, and it was a little bit wider shot. This is much closer in, I think. So we're definitely gonna have to do a horizon correction because you can see it's tilted left. So let me just start with a basic preset, and let's just, whoops, I want to tilt it. I'm just eyeballing it. I think right about there is good. And let's click the perspective. Oops. The perspective distortion tilted it the other way. So maybe always do perspective first, then horizon next. Okay, I think that's about right. Maybe just a little bit, about 1 degree. All right, so there's some interesting colors in this scene. But I kind of, well, no, I know John likes color, so I'm going to stay with color. But I'm leaning black and white, if personally. But I will try and tailor this a little bit more to what I know John prefers color. So let me try wider crop. Getting rid of that horizon altogether. Maybe have the ship more on the left side. I think that's too wide. Let's try 3 by 2. Okay, I just need a little more breathing room. And just have the ship coming into the frame. Like so. And let's see if AI can pick out the water. Let's see. Oh, perfect. So we'll just darken that a bit. And let's just temper the highlights back here a bit. Not that, this one, just a bit, but let's add some clear view in contrast. I like the details up in here. So I'm going to try and keep that. This red, so I like this one here, but not this one. But that's okay. This red, there's some red highlights here. Let me try on a global. I can't do it globally. I don't want to emphasize the red over there. So what I might do is just let me create a new mask and just desaturate this one a bit. Maybe make it a little darker. Okay, and then let's temper some of the highlights on the front of the ship. So just a simple control point will do. I got to make a new one. Come in there and some micro contrast. So I don't think this is a smooth surface. There's not much detail there. And let's go back to the global colors. Maybe just shifting it to one of these will do it. I kind of like, I think I like vibrant the best. Okay, and that's it. So let's just do a quick side-by-side. So here's the original. John had it originally just basically front and center, right? But we got the distraction of this here and this pier or dock or roof. This is probably a roof line. And the horizon is not, I don't feel like it's adding anything to the scene. But I do like the ship, right? Coming right into the frame. So there's that. And the only other thing is this was a little bit too hot. So I just tempered it, desaturated and darkened it a little bit. And because you notice when you look over here, your eye goes right to this little compressor or whatever this is, this machinery. Whereas over here, I feel like, yeah, your eye stays right here and doesn't get too distracted by the colors back here. But I think that works. Okay, let's check out this one. This is from Sir. So we'll do a basic preset. And this will be pretty straightforward edit, I think. I'll just come in a little bit tighter. just so that they're more in the top of the frame. And balance that just a tiny bit. And then, I don't know if I can bring out the eyes a little bit better. Oops, let me shrink that down. Let's see. Yeah, there's some action in there. So shadows, clear view, micro contrast. Makes the eyes a little bit shinier. I don't see much color in there, so I'll leave it right about there. But that's about right. And then we'll give the lips and nose a little bit more color. So let's make a new control point. One for the nose, one for the lips. Maybe just not that much, but just a little bit of pop on the reds. Let's spread that into the oranges. Okay, and then let's temper the highlights in the foreground just a bit. Maybe just a vignette will do. So let's make a new mask. Put a vignette right around this guy, right about there. So to do a vignette without having film pack installed, you just make a control point, invert it, turn your chroma and luma down to 0. And then you can just simply pull the exposure down. It doesn't quite look too natural, so I'm going to try using the selective tones, keeping the highlights and midtones, but just pulling the shadows in. So now it looks like a more natural kind of vignetting, I think, than just doing a simple exposure pull. Sometimes a simple exposure pull will work fine, but I think in this case, doing a selective tone vignette it's a little more natural. Let's just add a little warmth overall. See, we're at 51. Yeah, about 50, 53 looks good. I think that's it. So let's export that. Yeah, Mark, I could have cloned out the tractor, but like I said, I always try to keep everything in the frame and not get rid of distractions unless they're really, really bad. And in this case, that red thing in the ship photo, I guess it's a red tractor, whatever it is, was mildly interesting. It wasn't a total distraction. It did add a little bit of an accent, even though it is kind of not in an ideal place in the frame. It does add a little bit of an accent. Because I thought about it. I could simply just brush it out, but decided to leave it. Okay, let's reset this one and compare it. So here's the original on the right and the edit on the left. Very, very mild edit. Basically just warmed it up and cropped in. But if we want to check the details or the difference in details, and this is why I love DxO. It's just, it makes such a nice crisp image. And then just accentuating the eyes and nose and mouth. I tend to do that. I also like to do the ears, but he didn't really have any ears, so there you have it. And a little bit of crop so that he filled the frame a little more. All right, last one here from, looks like Anthony. Okay, so based on this, the way the file was named, this has been pre-processed with PureRaw using D'Prime XD2S. So really, I don't need to do any kind of presets or anything because it's already been done. I just need to edit this. So for this image, The water's already pretty dark. I mean, we have a pretty good range. We just need to maybe temper the highlights a bit on these buildings and warm it up, because the images, I mean, it's a winter scene, so maybe leaving it in a cooler tone like this is fine. But then again, let me try. Let me see what some different. Let's go with vibrant. And composition wise, I don't know. I don't know if making it wider, maybe right there. A 16 by 9 I think looks good. So all I want to do is just maybe temper the highlights to bring out some of the details here. Yeah, that works. Just drop one there and drop one over here. And just push the Luma 5 points. And let's just bring the highlights in. And maybe cool it off a bit. Just to keep that wintry feel. And I think the background, let me make a new mask. Maybe I can soften the background a bit. Just pull the micro contrast in the regular contrast, just to soften it a bit. Okay, I think that's it. So let's do a side by side. All right, so here's the original on the left. Already a clean shot, you know, really well composed already. But this little bit of snow here in the foreground is what kind of drove me to crop it into a 16 by 9. So I think the 16 by 9 works better for this shot. And then, yeah, the town here, the sun is directly on it. It's really bright. So just dropping, like, if you look at this building here versus here, I think just bringing the highlights in just a little bit helps so that you can see more of the details. But yeah, basically a 16 by 9 crop, and then softening the background just to get a little more sense of depth. But everything is really sharp from almost right here all the way to the back. So really good job on the hyperfocal distance that you did. A little too good a job, so that's why I softened this. All right, we're doing well. Okay, Mark. Yeah, I can do a couple more photos. But I think Paul said that you had sent in your edit. Let me see what's come in. Wow, quite a bit's come in. I can do all these. Let me just download them. It's like 4 more came in. Okay, where's my download? But there we go. Download. Why isn't it downloading? Oh, it's downloading. Okay, good. So yeah, I have I have 4 more images. I can do these. I seem to be moving along pretty well today. So I see Paul's edit here. We'll look at that. We'll look at your edit, Paul, versus what I did. It's taking a while to download for some reason. But we'll let that go. All right. Oh, there it is. Almost there. So I'll extract these. And I'll drag these into today's streaming folder. Okay, all set. All right, so let's look at Paul's edit. I think it was this one. So we'll make that as the reference. So this is how you compare 2 images. You just set one as a reference, and you get a little R down here, and then you select the image that you want to compare it to. So yeah, quite a bit of different edit, but a lot of similarities, like bringing out the speculars here of the flaring, and brightening up the midtones here on the bridge. So a lot of similarities, and it looks like you spent a little time sharpening too. I didn't really do much on the sharpening side, but yeah, similar edit other than staying with the color. But you definitely went with the square crop, and you did a good job with the perspective. I see. Very good. Yep, the perspective corrections are good. So yeah, it's a nice edit. I think if I were to go color version, I would probably do basically the same thing other than the crop. My crop, I would stick with this crop personally over here. Okay, let's back up a little bit and find the first one here from Hans. I think I've seen this church before. Of course, churches all look alike, right? So let's do a basic preset. Let's click on perspective and see. Yeah, we're still gonna have to do a horizon. And you'll notice that on my cropping section here, I have auto based on keystoning, whatever. I have it set on auto, so it's gonna automatically crop as I make some horizon and perspective corrections. But sometimes I have to go back in and so I don't know if this Dutch angle or angle that you had was intentional or not. Whoops, let me reset what I'm going to compare. Yeah, that doesn't look like it was intentional. I think it was just a little off, and I do that all the time too. Every time I look at my images, I thought I was straight in my vertical, but it's crooked just a few degrees. Okay, let's crop in also. I just want to crop out this one little piece here and maybe center that more. And let's get a little bit less foreground in. This tree is in the way. I would have moved a little bit to the right and not get this tree in the frame. This tree is really distracting to me. Let's try. Let's go with black and white. That takes away some of the tree's presence, I think. I hate to go in tighter, but I'd like to get up to this line. Let's see what a 1x1 does. If I come in right there. No. I think it looked better this way. Cropping off this tree just didn't work. Okay, so the question now for me is, do I want to go less contrast or more contrast? So let me just get a quick feel for less contrast versus more. I think less is better because, like I said, I want to minimize the impact this tree has. So let's do that. All right, so now that I have black and white selected, I can try a couple of the built-in presets. Let's do faded. And let's see if we can expand on that more. Let's try a different one. Let's go this way. Yeah. Let's do negative micro contrast. Just a little bit, and a little bit of negative contrast. Okay, I think that works for me. Let's add some vignette, just give it a little vintage feel. So we'll go there, invert it, 0, 0. And just a linear pull on the vignette, I think will work. Question is, let's put it over here. A little bit down. Okay. I think that's it. I don't really need to export this. So let's just do a side by side. And we're comparing, yep. Okay, so just a little bit of a crop and then softening it so that, again, this tree is just bothering the heck out of me. But I think softening it up here and adding a little vignette just gives a little more vintage feel in black and white. So I like it. And then, of course, just a little shift on the horizon, about 4 or 5 degrees. And I think that looks pretty good. All right. Let's go to yeah, sorry, Basmith. Bamsam. I just saw your message. I really meant to say 9 a.m., not 9 p.m. Okay, so that's my edit there. Let's go to the next one here from PBG. Okay, I don't see the name, but that's fine. And let's download the optics module, because I see a little green down arrow here, so I can get the optics module. So we have a Fuji X-T5 with an 18-135. Nice. I'm thinking about an X-T3. I don't know why. I don't need another camera. But what I really liked, I really missed the sensor from my X-T30, the 26 megapixel. I really like that, the output I got from that. I never used it or shot with it, but when I did, the images I got I really liked. All right, so let's apply basic preset. And I made one for Fuji for X-trans sensors over here. The only difference is that we have a D prime XD for X-trans versus the other preset I have just does the regular D prime. So you do get slightly better results with less worminess that you sometimes see in the fine details, but I like this reflection. The question is, this grass in the foreground is a little bit of a problem for me. And I like the colors here. So it's a really good composition, say for this grass, because it breaks right here. I don't know if I can crop in just a bit more. And try and balance the right and left a little bit. Because there's these two trees right here, this one and this one, along with this little patch of grass here. I think that's a little more balanced. Okay. Except the top. The top is a little bit off for me. I don't know if I need more or less. Maybe about right. I hate to come in more. But I really want to balance this somewhat. I think right about there. Okay, that feels nicely balanced. So from here, it's pretty straightforward. Enhance the color separation and darken the water, right? So let's just do an AI select on the water. And we'll pull the blacks in. Let's see if clear view makes it a little bit more reflecty. Tiny bit of, let's try regular contrast. Yeah, that's better. Just make it a little bit smoother. And then we'll just spot check some of the color. So we have some yellows and reds. They're separated enough. I can probably just use the eyedropper. Just enhance that a tiny bit. And then go over here to the reddish. If there's not really. Okay, let me just spread this into the reds. There we go. And the greens, let's see, the greens. Let's push this a little bit warmer. Maybe I'll just do it with white balance. Yeah, let me try white balance. Oh, maybe not. What if we went cooler? Yeah, just a hair warmer. Oh, I forgot this Fujifilm. The colors are, it renders colors a little differently than I'm used to. So Fujifilm colors tend to be pastel-y sometimes. Let's see what the original Provia standard. Okay. Natural, vibrant. Ooh, I like portrait too on it. Vivid looks good. Let me try portrait 1. Okay. Portrait 1 tends to pull the reds back a little bit. Not pull them back so much, but shift them a little bit yellow. Okay, let me check some of the fine detail in here. So what I want to do is see if I can bring out some of the color in the little buds of leaves that are left here. I don't know if I can do that because these are kind of a yellowish. Let's see. Let me select this. It's orange. If I push this, I think it's going to make, yeah. But that's okay. All right, so I'm going to push, I'm going to really saturate the oranges, and then I'm going to desaturate it again down here, because now these are too strong, right? So let me do, I'll just use a brush. Just use a brush. I can be pretty liberal. Down in here. And we'll just back it off a bit. Okay. Need to spread this into the reds. Okay. Still too saturated. Right about there. I'm starting to overprocess this too much. Let me go back to my colors. It's the greens that are throwing me off. Again, I'm not used to working with Fuji colors. It's the greens that are kind of a little bit off for me. I like the green here, but not back here. And when I tried to select it, I got this, right? Ugh. Let's just push it a little bit. Okay. All right, I think that's it. Okay, one more idea is I'm going to darken this just about a quarter, a third. Let's try a third. And then use a control line on the brightest points here. And just taper that off this way. So I'm going to put this onto one of the trees. Try and get that. There we go. Right there. A little tighter on the luma. because I just mainly want to brighten the trees up a little bit. So let's do it a little bit with the highlights and midtones. Okay. Just going to see where we're at. Because I don't want to over bake it. It's easy to do when you get into these. And like I said, part of the problem is my eyes are just not tuned for Fuji. But I think this is it. I'd like to bring in just a couple of darker spots though. So I'm going to use control points and just do maybe a little tighter on the luma. Just pull these in a bit. And a little bit there. Okay. What about up here? Let me try something else. One more thing. What if I go up here? Yeah. All right. We'll export that. All that looks good. And then once that's done exporting, let me see. Almost there. Okay. We'll reset and do a side-by-side. All right, so yeah, the colors, oh, they're a little bit rich when I look at the original. So I might actually desaturate just a tiny bit. Like if I walked away from this and came back like an hour later, I would probably most definitely desaturate this a little bit more. But the overall idea is the composition that I went for is I got rid of this foreground and tried to balance. This tree here is a little bit heavy in the scene, and there's nothing over here to kind of balance it. So I just cropped in, and then I noticed, you know, this green grass here in the front. God, this Fuji colors is very pastel-y. When I shifted the greens up here, I didn't pay attention down here. So I would definitely do some more, unless you really like the Fuji colors as is, you know, then I think we're pretty close. But yeah, I would work on the color, mainly desaturate a little bit. But yeah, bringing out the trees and the colors in the tops of the trees. So let's do a slider. Because the trees had color in the little buds on the thin branches, as you can see over here. So I wanted to bring that out. And then, yeah, just a few dark spots. Like, you know, a little darkening on this side, a little darkening inside here and here. Just a few spots, I think. Let me go to the side by side. You know, darkening kind of behind the trees a little bit, just to give it a little more depth. Because over here, everything looks like it's right up against the water and flat. And we know that's not the case. I mean, it is a pretty shallow scene overall because there looks like a rock mountain behind it. But I just wanted to create a little more depth by adding some darker areas in what would be a background otherwise. And then the water, you know, just making it kind of glossy. That's a little subjective. My taste may change later. I kind of like this softer look over here, but There we go. Let's go see what else came in. I think this is, looks like a downy woodpecker, but it's a JPEG. And it's been edited somewhat because of, you know, it's cropped square. So, you know, this is easily 2 stops underexposed. This is going to be really difficult to bring up because a JPEG, typically 1 stop is about all the wiggle room you get. Because if I try to brighten this up, yeah, it's a little bit of a wreck. And this purple fringing, I don't know if I can fix that, but we'll try. There. So there's that. And then the highlights are clipped. Nothing I'm going to be able to do about that. So I would probably crop in a little bit so the bird is a little bit higher up in the frame. Because you're definitely looking up. And then I'm watching my corner here. You see this corner here and this corner here, they're both dark. And this line leads up to the this downy woodpecker. So I think that's the best I can do, being a JPEG. So if we compare side by side, whoops, just a tighter crop and watch your corners. And then putting them up a little higher in the frame, because you're definitely, you can see that you're pointing up. But there's some red in here, but that, yeah, that'd be a little rough to bring out. But yeah, that's a tough shot. I got a few shots of a downy yesterday. I deleted them all because they were all like this, so to speak. You know, branches in the way, and it wasn't a clear shot of the downy. But I got like 3 different, well, at least 2 woodpeckers. The third one, I don't know if it's a woodpecker or not. All right, let's see what else. Did anything else come in? Looks like we got this one here from Fabio. Okay. Very festive scene. Ooh, I like this little kid here in the front, or all these kids in the front. They have such great, kids are great. You know, they're just so happy. Let's do a basic preset. And definitely gonna have to temper the highlights because the light here is really harsh. Let's try perspective. No, that looks weird. I don't think we need anything up here. All we need is the bubbles and the crowd. Oops, I meant to go to... Okay, let's try and balance this. Get rid of that one guy or girl over here. I like the guy sitting on the chair there, or kid, probably another kid over here. Okay, I think that works. Just need a little bit of perspective correction. Let's try verticals only. Yeah, that's good. Okay. So I'm gonna have to recrop this. All right, awesome. Now, I want to see, we need to get rid of this glaring. So definitely, I'm going to just do a global clear view, because the entire image is got flare across the lens. The 12 to 32. Okay, so you probably didn't have a lens hood on this, but a lens hood would have gotten rid of some of this really kind of softness from the flaring that you're getting. I have a lens hood for it, actually, that I use sometimes, which would have been perfect in this scene, because you can see the difference with and without clear view. A lens hood would have probably helped here. Now the question is, do we get the colors in the bubbles, or do we go opposite, black and white? Ooh, I like that. I think black and white will work. All we have to do is accentuate the bubbles a bit. Because when we go to black and white, when you have clipped highlights like this, it's not as big a deal, right? It's okay to clip highlights in a black and white image. And you know, for me, I prefer it. Except like when we did that church. The church, I wanted to go really soft. But I'm going to try and accentuate these bubbles. And then a couple of the faces here. And that's it. So I might have to do this with just control points. Let's just try a couple here and see what happens. Let's do that. Maybe some more clear view. Okay, how'd that work? Yeah. Yeah, the bubbles are more there. Maybe some micro contrast too. Yeah. All right, and then just locally in the scene, let's brighten up a little bit of this, of what's going on in here. Maybe a push in the shadows. No, just a little bit in the highlights and midtones, I think, is enough. Maybe just a little bit more. Okay. And we need just a slight tilt. Wish I noticed that earlier. Just a slight tilt this way. All right. Oh, I like this little dog here. There's a lot of interesting things going on here. I think this is why people love street photography, right? With people in it. Not like what I do, architectural, right? But real street photography with people people are really interesting, right? There's like this guy sitting here, this kid's face, this girl's hand, the little dog here. I love all of this stuff. Lots of interesting things going on. This one little piece of this head sitting here is a little distracting. I wonder, I don't know if I can crop them out just a bit. Yeah, that helps. I think that's it. So let me export this. And reset and compare. Okay, so obviously the original here on the right, we just had to simplify it a little bit. Get rid of this frame, like this half person here, this head top here, and then accentuate these bubbles and this kid's face. Because when you look at the edit here, you know, brightening up the kid's face, I think helps. Another composition that might work, I prefer a wide composition like this, but another composition that might work is a vertical. If we were to do, let's do a 3x2. With just this one kid in here. I think that's a pretty cool shot too, right? But the wide shot is better. I prefer this. Whoops, where did it go? This one. I think this wide shot is better because now the eye can go all over the frame, right? This is a lot more interesting. So that's a great shot. Who sent that? Fabio. That's an awesome shot, Fabio. I love this one. Probably my favorite for the day. Okay, that looks like that's it. So you're welcome, Mark. The depth was an addition, was nice. Okay. Glad you liked that one. But I think that's it for today. So let's see. I may or may not do a Sunday live stream. What is today? Today's Friday. So Sunday or Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see. But based on the calendar, what day is Christmas? Thursday. So next week, Friday. I don't know. I don't know if I'll do any streaming next week. I need to. I need to. Even if I only make like $3, I really need to make every dollar I can this month. I'll try. I'm gonna try and do my normal schedule next week because Sunday is not a holiday, but I have a party to go to. And then Tuesday is not a holiday, but it's my shopping stream. Who's shopping on December 23rd? Nobody. I hope at least not. If you are shopping, you're probably down at the gas station trying to find something that you can buy as a gift or at the shops. I guess the shops would still be open. And then Friday's the day after Christmas. I mean, I assume a lot of people will be home, but I don't know. We'll see. I can do a photo editing stream on Friday if I'm home. I don't know why I'm thinking out loud with you guys here. But either way, you guys have a great rest of your week. You know, great weekend, great day, great holiday next week. Because I think a lot of us are going to have time off. Go out and take some photos. Normally I say eat healthy and exercise, but I don't see the point during the holiday. Just eat whatever you want and enjoy, you know? We don't know how much time we have on this earth. You might as well enjoy those times. when you can on special occasions like this with your family and friends. So thanks everyone for joining me today. Thanks for letting me edit your photos. Some great photos today. I hope you like the edits that I did. And I will see you guys again, God willing, next week. All right? Thanks again.